Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third annual general meeting of Victoria Mutual Investments Limited. I invite Director Philip Silvera to lead us in prayer. Mike.
Let us pray. Father, as we gather, we want to honor you and recognize your presence. We salute you as the Creator. You conceived and you brought into being both physical and spiritual worlds. Thank you for your salvation, which you so freely offer unto us because of your great love for each and every one of us. As we gather, Lord, we are conscious of the economic challenges, the health challenges, and we look to you, for you're a God that provides. We pray for wisdom in this hour, that we might safely navigate through these challenges. In times like these, Lord, we are so conscious that fear, worry, anxiety, all these negative emotions tend to occupy our being, our thoughts. And today we would take a stand against them in your name. We thank you that you have provided love to us. And your word says that your love casts out all fear. As we gather, we commit ourselves into your gracious hands and ask your blessing upon our meeting today, for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Philip. Director Silvera. Let us begin today's proceedings by moving a motion for the notice of the meeting to be taken as read. Could I have such a motion? And thank you. Secretary got that? Second? Mr. Young, thank you very much. As chairman, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Board of Directors to the third public annual general meeting of Victoria Mutual Investments Limited. Let me introduce the members to my left on the podium. From the far left, we have Director Janice McKinley, who is also Group CFO for Victoria Mutual Group, our largest shareholder. Then we have Courtney Campbell. Director Campbell is Group CEO and President of Victoria Mutual Building Society. And we have our CEO and Director, our Managing Director, Mr. Resworth Burchinson. In the front row, appropriately spaced, we have our Group Legal and Compliance Officer and also Corporate Secretary, Ms. Carrie Gray Brown. And we have Mr. Philip Silvera, as you just saw, Director Silvera, and a number of senior executives. We also want to welcome our directors online as well. And I think we have the full complement. Director Sandra Shirley Oxley, Matthew Wright, Director Milton Samudo, new Director Vikram Demon, Director Noel Hahn, and Director Devon Barrett. You'll forgive them if they don't stand. We'd like to also especially welcome our auditors, KPMG, and members of the media. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 continues to impact the way we do many things. We therefore were not able to all gather in the way we normally do. However, as is the way of Victoria Mutual Investments Limited, we have adapted and innovated. We are therefore pleased to have our shareholders logged in from locations far and wide, and they will all be able to engage with us fully and to cast your votes on all relevant matters. So I'd like to offer a welcome to both the shareholders here and also the shareholders online as well. In addition to those shareholders joining us here physically and those joining us, those logged in, there will be a private live stream on Facebook, and the mechanisms are in place for them to also actively participate. You will be asked to vote at the appropriate time. Online voters will receive a prompt when voting is required and will cast votes by the online poll. The matters on which you will be asked to vote will be populated in the chat section of the screen. Scroll down as you join as a guest. You will be required to state your name and select your voting option. For added convenience, a helpline has been established. You may call 876-575-4277 if you're experiencing any difficulties. And again, a very warm welcome to everybody. The first item on the agenda is the presentation of the auditor's report and statement of accounts for the year ended 31 December 2019, as well as the director's report. Mr. Nigel Chambers of KPMG, auditors for Victoria Mutual Investments, will now come forward to present the auditor's report and statement of accounts. Nigel?
Thank you, Chair.
Where's the mic? So why don't,
I'll proceed. I assume you can.
no,
hear
you
me,
have
right?
to talk into the, no, it's
okay.
straight.
Good afternoon. The auditor's report is on page 75 to 82, I believe, of the annual report. And as is required, I'll read from the report and you can follow. Report on the audit of the financial statements. We have audited the financial statements of Victoria Mutual Investments Limited, the company, comprising the separate financial statements of the company and the consolidated financial statements of the company and its subsidiary, the group, set out on pages 82 to 165, which comprise the group's and the company's statement of financial position as at December 31, 2019, the group's and company's income statements, statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, changes in equity, and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes comprising significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the group and the company as at December 31, 2019, and the group's and company's financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with international financial reporting standards and the Jamaican Companies Act. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the company in accordance with the International Ethics Standard Boards of Accountants Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, the IASBA Code, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the IASBA Code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Key audit matters are those matters in our professional judgment that were of most significance in our audit of the financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statements as a whole and informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. There are two key audit matters. First one is the fair value of investments. The valuation of the group's investment requires significant estimation as quoted prices are not available for some of these instruments. So valuation of these instruments, although based on observable inputs, involves the exercise of judgment and the use of assumptions. Management use valuation techniques which require inputs such as market yields obtained from established yield curves. These judgments and assumptions could result in estimated fair values that are materially different from actual transaction values. And there's more information on notes 7 and 29 of the financial statements. Our procedures in this area included the following: assessing and testing the design and operating effectiveness of the group's controls over the determination and computation of fair values, challenging the reasonableness of yields or prices by comparing to independent pricing sources, assessing the reasonableness of significant assumptions used by management, involving our own valuation specialists to determine or obtain yields or prices of specific securities and comparing them to those used by management, evaluating the adequacy of these disclosures, including disclosures of the degree of estimation involved in determining fair values. The second key audit matter, it relates to expected credit loss on financial assets. The group and company are required to recognize expected credit losses, or ECL, on financial assets, the determination of which is highly subjective and requires management to make significant judgment and estimates. The key areas requiring greater management judgment include the identification of significant increase in credit risk, the determination of probabilities of default, loss given default, exposures at default, and the application of forward-looking information. Significant management judgment is used in determining the appropriate variables and assumptions used in the ECL calculations, which increases the risk of a material misstatement. We therefore determined that the impairment of financial assets has a high degree of estimation uncertainty. Our procedures in this area included the following: obtaining an understanding of the models used by the group and company for the calculation of expected credit losses, including governance over the determination of key judgments, testing the completeness and accuracy of the data used in the models to the underlying accounting records on a sample basis, involving our financial risk modeling specialists to evaluate the appropriateness of the group's and company's impairment methodologies, including the SICA, significant increase in credit risk, criteria used, and independently assessing the assumptions for probability of default, loss given default, and exposure at default. Involving our financial risk modeling specialists to evaluate the appropriateness of the group's methodology for determining economic scenarios and the probability weighting used or applied to them. Evaluating the adequacy of the financial statements disclosures, including disclosures of the key assumptions and judgments for compliance with IFRS 9. Management is responsible for the other information, which comprises the information included in the annual report but does not include the financial statements and our auditor's report thereon. The annual report is expected to be made available to us after the date of this auditor's report. So remember, the auditor's report is February 28. The annual report is prepared after. Our opinion on the financial statements does not cover the other information, and we will not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the financial statements, our responsibility is to read the other information identified when it becomes available, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the financial statements or our knowledge obtained in the audit, or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. When we read the annual report, if we conclude that there is a material misstatement therein, we are required to communicate the matters to those charged with governance. It is responsible for the preparation of financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with IFRS and the Jamaican Companies Act, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as applicable matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the company or to cease operations or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the group's financial reporting processes. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high-level assurance, but not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISAs will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered material if individually or in the aggregate they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. A further description of our responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements is included in the appendix to this auditor's report. This description, located report on additional matters as required by the Jamaican Companies Act. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been maintained so far as appears from our examination of those records, and the financial statements, which are in agreement therewith, give the information required by the Jamaican Companies Act in the manner required. The engagement partner on the audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is Cynthia Lawrence, and the report is signed KPMG on February 28, 2020. The appendix is on page 81, starts there, which is the explanation of the auditor's responsibilities. As part of the audit in accordance with ISAs, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than for one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal control. We obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the group's internal control. We evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management, conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists relating to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the financial statements, or, if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of the auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the company to cease to continue as a going concern. We evaluate the overall presentation and whether the financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. We obtain sufficient audit evidence regarding the financial information of entities or business activities within the group to express an opinion on the consolidated financial statements. We are responsible for the direction, supervision, and performance of the group audit, and we remain solely responsible for our audit opinion. We communicate with those charged with governance regarding, among others, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identified during our audit. We also provide those charged with governance with a statement that we have complied with relevant ethical requirements regarding independence and communicate with them all relationship and other matters that may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence and, where applicable, related safeguards. From the matters communicated with those charged with governance, we determined those matters that were of most significance in the audit of the financial statements of the current period and are therefore the key audit matters. We describe these matters in our auditor's report unless law or regulation precludes public disclosure about the matter, or where, in extremely rare circumstances, we determine that a matter should not be communicated in our report because the adverse consequences of doing so would reasonably be expected to outweigh the public interest benefits of such communication. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Nigel. Is it my imagination, or do they seem to be getting longer and longer every year? It's called insurance, right? Okay, well, thank you. But this is those are important statements in keeping with our Companies Act, and so we respect them. Yes, sir.
May I just ask you, Mr. Chairman?
You have to state your name first, and
The name is Arthur Anderson.
yes, sir.
Just to be sure that there's no idea that there's missed out in this. The auditor read pages 79 to 81 in the statement, but the statement actually says pages 78. Obviously, immediately you went it on. It corrected something which the statement seems to have prepared.
It can be found starting from either 78 or 79.
Just so that we all
Thank you.
know that he didn't make a mistake.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. We're taking 10% off just for that, of the audit fees. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I will present on behalf of the Board of Directors the Chairman's message. And again, you can find a script in the annual report. I'm not sure which page, but I trust everybody has the report and they can look at it. I won't be going word for word, but it's there for your reference. Page 17. So let's take a look. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had what would be determined, I think, on all counts, as a very good year for 2019. A list of the meaningful wins are on your screen, and I would say that in profits after tax of 44% for the year to a total of 171 million. This is quite laudable, and we salute the management and the entire team for this effort. We are equally, however, proud of the underpinning results that went into delivering that kind of number, one of which, of course, abounds from our unit trusts, or the performance of our unit trusts. And so certainly in terms of our classic equity portfolio, we were able to deliver 30% returns to our members of that unit trust, and that was also very commendable, as well as we registered the top performing unit trust for real estate, I think in 2 years running, Colando? 2 years running, so it's not by accident. So, of course, the effort goes into that type of performance, resulting in such a profit after tax. But what does this mean for shareholders? For shareholders, it meant an increase of 36% in dividends paid. Yes, you can. I know you'd applaud for that one. Yes, and also share price increase from December 2017, which was our inception, to December 31, 2019, of 176%. Yes. I take that applause for all the team members and those in group support as well, in our shareholder group. Because such results don't come from, as I said, by accident. It comes from deliberate thinking and actions and a relentless drive to actually get things right. So, apart from getting things right, the enabling environment is also a critical contributor, the overall economy. And so we take note of what was going on in the economy as well, because those results don't happen in a vacuum. And so probably most significantly was the lowering of our debt to GDP, or continuing decline of our debt to GDP ratio, which is significant and provides much more fiscal space for the overall economy. Moving from a high of 122 in 2015 to 91.5 in last year. Also of significance was our unemployment rate, which has been intractable for many, many years, for decades. And we finally were able to push that down to 7.2%, which is quite remarkable and something the government needs to be commended for. That obviously provides a lot more cash into the economy, a lot more earnings, a lot more potential for wealth, and what we say, something we can work with. So we were very pleased to see that. Obviously, in other times, as we have in the past, and as we're seeing in 2020, unless you have an enabling environment like this, we have to be a bit more tentative, right? We have to think more about capital preservation rather than expansion of wealth. And so that would have required a different prescription. So thanks to the enabling environment. Other elements of the environment, which are not moving. Sorry. My fault. Yes. Even though we had slowing global growth of 2.9%, I think the local economy was still very strong, and we were able to really weather any anemic growth because inflation was so low, and that meant that prices were stable, and therefore you could actually plan and you could actually save in that regard. So those were two other elements. This kind of enabling environment really led to an effective execution of our strategy. And certainly several of the elements I think that contributed to our performance were some of those elements. And the ones I wanted to focus on were really these four: pursuing meaningful acquisitions, enhancing speed, accuracy, and convenience through digital alternatives, creating and retaining an effective and motivated team, and continuing our focus on corporate governance. Keep pressing the wrong thing. So, in terms of our meaningful acquisitions, the one that would have been on everybody's lips would have been Carryland. And in the case of Carryland, we were able to develop a partnership with this Barbadian company and invest to the tune of 30% in this company. And the key about this company is that it delivers lending solutions. It's a lender, but it does it end-to-end automated, in an automated way. And so this is going to provide us a leap forward in terms of how we can deliver services at Victoria Mutual Investments Limited, and also pave our way into other areas of the Caribbean as well, because they have been successful in Barbados, and so we are there now. Other regions of other areas of the Caribbean, and who knows what other regions as well, right, Colando? Interactive Brokers was another partnership, and this partnership really gave us an expanded trading platforms internationally, and that's important because as we develop our clients in their goal of investing well and generating wealth, that expanded platform actually gives us more investment options internationally. And so we look forward to championing your development with this very, very useful tool as well. Harnessing digitization for efficiency and client convenience was another pillar, as we discussed. This is a very important pillar. This has the ability to allow us to leap forward in terms of customer convenience and access, as well as our own operating efficiency. And this initiative accelerated in 2020 and will actually begin to deliver enhancements. It has delivered some enhancements, but it will begin to deliver enhancements in a major way this year as well as 2021. So we all look out for that. So in this business, if technology is the lever, people are the force, right? If you remember your high school physics. So the third critical element is creating and retaining an effective and motivated team. And to this end, we have made what I consider to be, or the team has made, laudable advances towards achieving our employer of choice strategic objective through our culture of accountability and our Great Place to Work agenda. And these are two programs basically that they use to drive this idea of engaging with the team members and keeping them motivated. You're motivated, right, team? Yeah. Our talent management initiative continues to be robust, with our talent pipeline continuously being strengthened through formal training programs, coaching and mentoring, and experience-based learning. So this also will stand us in very good stead. And lastly, corporate governance. We believe that being a well-run, sorry, a little feedback. We believe that being a well-run business and living that mantra every day can be a significant differentiator. And with our main shareholder standing as a beacon of enduring success for over 140 years, we think that our knowledge and commitment to strong governance does indeed set us apart. As we execute our mission, the board continues to regularly self-evaluate and undertake training against international best practice standards, which recently has begun to include the Jamaica Stock Exchange's government assessment for public companies. And that serves as an independent third party for us to receive feedback. So we're busily pursuing that. And what you see on the screen there are really, I guess, the main elements of how we focus on corporate governance and what it means for the company. So, in the face of uncertainties for 2020, unfortunately, I can't promise you that we are set to repeat the solid accomplishments of 2020. But the beauty and value of a solid, well-run company is that you prepare yourself and your clients for the rainy day. Because success, true success, is not about 1 year or even 2. It's about a lifetime. Specifically, the lifetimes of each of our clients. So, thank you very much for a good year, and we look forward to your continued support. Thank you. So we have time for a joke? So we've been working, everybody's been working at home, right? Everybody been working at home? Show of hands who's been working at home. We've been working at home so much that I've been working at home so much that the other day, after a family meeting, my wife pulled me aside and said, there may be some precedent with actually putting one of your children on probation, but you can't fire the other one. Well, I beg to differ, so I argued. I was arguing with her, and we continued arguing for some time. She wasn't taking my point. So needless to say, I suspended her without pay for 3 days. Anyway. So now we're going to move into the CEO's report. Mr. Rez Bursenson is going to deliver his report to the shareholders. Rez?
Check, check, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Everybody can hear me? Lovely. Good afternoon. I like that joke, Chairman. My house is available for accommodation for the next 2 weeks. I went by my wife before you were allowed inside my house to see if you pass muster, but I understand how it is. So good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, directors. Good afternoon to the executives of VM Group. Good afternoon to the shareholders present and online. I'm told by Ms. Sharon Sterling that I need to engage the online audience. So not like the chairman, I listen to my women. So thank you very much, Sharon. I will, if I'm going astray, just kind of send somebody up here to kind of tap me on my shoulder. First of all, I want to recognize the members of the management team that are here present. I want to go in no particular order, but Ms. Sharon Sterling, Customer and Brand Manager. Please stand, Sharon. Thank you. Vonnie Winter, or CFO. Natalie Bennett, Risk and Compliance. Tama Ward Douglas, Sales. Tama, could you stand? Nicole Adamson in Research. This is a board resource, but I want to salute Clover Moore, AVP Corporate Comms, who all of this is Clover's responsibility. And then last but definitely not least, one of the brightest men in Kingston, Colanda Hutchinson, my deputy CEO.
Just Kingston?
Yeah, just Kingston. No, he came for a raise, which is why I big him up, so he won't come back for the raise. So let me go to the presentation. The chairman did touch on many things that I want to talk about, but I do believe that in an AGM that perhaps I need to move from 30,000 feet down to 20,000 feet to share more about the business with the shareholders. First of all, I do believe that we did put together a very informative annual report. I think it's the best annual report in Kingston. Certainly in terms of the content provided. We did share a bit more than the other players, because I do believe that having an analyst background that is important for shareholders, stakeholders kind of understand this business of ours. And, we might have shared too much, but we don't mind sharing, because it's not about the information that they have. It's all around that the team at VMIL, that they can execute better than the other players. So we don't mind telling what our plans are, because we do know that, we're already way ahead of on the execution part of it. But, at our core, our purpose is to ensure that our clients create, grow, and sustain their wealth. That's essentially what we're all about. And to do that, certainly, what's our vision? To be the leading Caribbean-based provider of financial services. And what's our mission is about financial independence. And I want to pause there, because so many Jamaicans could have been spared the ravages of COVID had they been financially prepared, had they been financially independent. To not have a call on the state, but to have had their own resources to withstand the shocks of 2020. And in as much as the chairman spoke of the challenges of 2019, I can say that 2020 is a very challenging year. And that nest egg that we've been hearing about since primary school, I do believe that 2020 was the year when we all wanted it. And certainly what are our values? Client focus, integrity, teamwork, innovation, and excellence. So how are we positioned to deliver on this vision? We start by looking at, in 10 years' time or in 9 years' time, how do we want to be remembered? What kind of company are we trying to build for our clients, for our team members, and our stakeholders? We want to be number one in customer experience, and the chairman did speak about some of the customer experience initiatives that are coming. We want to be the number one provider in terms of financial education. And when you read the report, you'd have seen that and I'll elaborate further, that we're executing on a number of initiatives around providing a financial education. The number one provider of lead cutting-edge solutions. So in as much as our property fund is number one, and our equity fund is one of the leading equity funds in Jamaica, we certainly want to launch additional portfolios, which is why we actually last year said, in as much as the Jamaican stock market is doing well, our investors, being informed as they are, really want to participate in the stock exchanges of more developed markets. They want to participate, they want to buy the Facebook, the Amazon, the Netflix, the Googles, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our commitment, that's our delivering on that. We want to be the number one fund manager. So we're number one property fund for 2 years running. I think we're number 2 in equities. But certainly, we believe that to deliver on our strategic imperatives, we have to be the number one fund manager. And later on, I'll highlight some initiatives around that. We did speak about stock market performance, that we're at about 170 since listing. 2 years in, we still have 8 years to go in terms of delivering value, creating value, and delivering value for our clients, and having that value being represented in our stock price. The place to work for high performers. So at VMIL, we have something called a HREI, HR Engagement Index. And we take this thing very seriously, because this enterprise that we're building means nothing if our team members who are listening to me online, so are talking the talk and walking the walk, are not engaged. Your investment in our business will mean nothing if we don't ensure that they are motivated, empowered, engaged, excited, Give me some more adjectives, but a lot more adjectives around team member engagement. And of course, passionate. And of course, ensuring that, if we build a great enterprise, how do we take that enterprise throughout the Caribbean, or regionally, or overseas? So we did one investment thus far in terms of Caroland. And Caroland is a long-term investment. VM Group has been around for 141 years. Caroland is making losses now, but our intention is not for it to make losses in the future. Our intention is a regional play, providing a platform, innovative platform, so that in years to come, we'll start to see the fruits of that labor. So our strategy is predicated on significant growth in our bottom line, right? We certainly need to keep our shareholders happy. We certainly need capital. We certainly need assets in terms of our AUM, in terms of our unit trust business or asset management business, the transformation of our client experience, and I'll elaborate further on, and then ensuring that our team members are certainly more than engaged. So that's the economic performance for last year. Won't say much on it except to say that certainly that environment assisted us to deliver on many, if not all, of the results that we realized last year. Certainly in the various business lines of the organization, whether it be equity trading, bond trading, corporate finance, that enabling environment contributed. Certainly we're thankful of same. So some achievements of your company. Last year we raised $16 billion. I want to pause there for a second, because when we went public in 2017, one of the things that we said is that we want to facilitate the growth of Jamaican businesses, small, medium, and large. So I put it here because nobody can say that we went public and we didn't deliver on our promise. Every year will we do 16? Perhaps not. But in 2019, we certainly delivered on the promise. And our capital markets business is a key driver in some of the things that we plan to do in the near term. We spoke about Caroland. The performance for the stock price last year was 138%. Financial education activities, as you read the report, you have seen us doing quite a bit of webinars, quite a bit of seminars, lots of information going out to our clients around investments, etc. The ongoing digitization and transformation of our client experience, and ensuring that our clients are getting requisite service. This is an area that, as of now, we believe that we are subpar, but there is a plan in place which I'm going to elaborate on to ensure that we get there. We spoke about those two before, so let's continue. Lots of client activities. Spoke about the prop fund. Last year, our website was the first one up at the JC, their Best Practice Awards. Massive improvement in our staff mortgage benefit last year, and lots of training of our team members for what I call skills of the future: design thinking, agile, project management. And then lastly, but not least, the enterprise celebrated 25 years of service to Jamaicans as it relates to the various investment management products. And for that, I think the team deserves a round of applause. Financial results in terms of earnings, efficiency, and capital. Certainly, the revenue drivers are all up. In terms of the efficiency, certainly improvement in our capital ratios, and improvement in our efficiency ratio. In terms of the equity space, net income is up, ROE is up, dividend is up, and net book value of your enterprise also improved per share. How have we done for the past 5 years? Just quickly glossing over in terms of revenue, net PAT, AUM, and efficiency. I do believe that your enterprise is heading in the right direction. Are we moving as fast as we should? Perhaps not. But we believe that based on the direction provided by the board, the advice provided by the executives of the group, and leveraging the resources of the VM group, I do believe that the team in place, which I'm privileged to lead, that execution is now the name of the game. Execution is not the name of the game, and our intent is to ensure that over the years, as the chairman said before, that whilst in one area we may falter, that the revenue, net part, AUM, and efficiency, that we continue to deliver great numbers in those areas. 4 main business lines of your enterprise: capital markets, trading, net interest income, and asset management. And as you can see, let's move from the right towards the left, is asset management is a key component of our strategy. Our unit trust product, our private asset management product is a key component. As you can see, we're doing well, revenues are up, right? Net interest income, this was our bread and butter many years ago. We're diversifying away from that. So as you can see, we have a fairly diversified business. Bond and equity trading, lots of resources went in there last year. Very good performance. And our capital market space is, what word did I use? That I think we punch above our weight class. I do believe that we punch above our weight class. Last year, we underwrote a transaction for $2 billion when many persons shied away from it. And we also assisted many enterprises, I won't state their names, to raise capital for them to move away from other organizations towards VMIL based on the innovative solutions that we put forward in our conversation with the principals. In terms of from the customer perspective, so we survey our clients frequently, about 2 or 3 times a year. And we ask them some key questions. How well are you being served? How well are you being served? Are we a trusted provider? Do you see us in the CSR space? And we have no problem sharing it. There's work to be done, but certainly where we are in the 80s is better than international benchmarks. So I do believe that as shareholders, we should be proud of where we are, but as a management team, we are not yet satisfied, because we believe that there's a lot more work to be done. For our Net Promoter Score, the global benchmark is 40, and we have some work to do. And I'm going to share with you in a bit the heavy lifting that we require to get there. We spoke about Carolyn before. Carolyn is a platform play. And Carolyn will allow us to do things that VMIL on its own could not do. So we have to leverage technology. We have to have partnerships to get us to a space that sometimes on our own would take us too long. And we believe that certainly with Carolyn, they're currently in Barbados. The intent is for them to launch in Jamaica. The intent is for them to launch in Trinidad. That over the medium to long term, that will reap decent dividends from Carolyn. That's some metrics on Carolyn, revenue. The key metric to watch for Carolyn is the loan book. As you can see, it's doing fairly well now, all the way into 2020, but that's the key metric. Because, at a particular loan size, that's when the enterprise breaks even, and above that, it's all gravy, so to speak. So some of our financial education initiatives, business growth strategies, speaking to businesses in Kingston, in the second city, around how do you grow your business? Is listing something that you should consider to grow your enterprise? And if you're not there, how can VMIL assist you on that journey? At a post-budget forum looking at overall economy, the economic space, and how both corporate and individual should align or review and reassess their investment portfolio. That's us celebrating 25 years. We actually, one of the things that we did is there was an idea of us having a 25th party, and a number of bright thinking persons in the enterprise says, no, perish that thought. Let's give back to the community. So we spent a day at Sunbeam Boys Home, giving back to the community, planting trees, mentoring the gentlemen. And from that, there's a student from UE who goes to Sunbeam that we adopted. He's doing AXI, and he's adopted until he finishes UE. So certainly we're very proud of that. So some of the gladiators in the team. So every member of VMIL, VM Wealth, valid team members. But there must be some key persons who do well. So when we're thinking of doing the presentation for the annual report and the AGM, there's a thinking that don't put up the faces because the competition will steal them. Them can't touch us. Okay? So we value employer of the quarter, we value our service champions, and we value our sales champions. So certainly, I see here Timisha, Joseph, Shamara, Akanki, Kay, Dana, Philip, Davor, Daniel, Petage, and I think on Saturday, we had Employer of the Year. Our photograph isn't here. Her name is Carice Gray, who's our junior bond trader. So kudos to the amazing gladiators on the team. So that's our HREI survey. There are a number of key drivers: culture, employee value proposition, awards and recognition, work-life, leadership, and engagement. The global benchmark is in the 60s, and VMIL year enterprise is in the 70s. Earlier in 2020, we had an unfortunate incident where a dispatch of information which should not go out in the public, which caused a challenge for the brand VMIL, VM Wealth. We acted quickly. We didn't back down from it. We owned it. We sat in the media, and we ensured that our clients' interests were well protected. So there are a number of things that we would have done, public and privately. One of the things that we did, however, is that we engaged, most importantly, an external consultant to the report to say, where are the gaps in the organization? We have got that report. We have done a number of the recommendations thus far. And so we do believe that from that, we're a stronger enterprise from this unfortunate situation. For those of us who might have been impacted, again, from the CEO, I do apologize. What does the future look for VMIL? More products and services, an expanded sales team, both in terms of headcount and also in terms of the distribution. So for example, for 2020, we have already launched in Ligoni and Ocho Rios, and the plan is to ensure that by the end of the year, our distribution count is at 10. More products coming in conjunction with the Jamaica Stock Exchange, digital asset trading, leveraging our international equity trading platform. We also want to ensure that to make the business more efficient, that when we do IPOs, that the process isn't a paper-based process. Launching our IPO platform, revamping our loan system, continuing on the journey of our digital to provide digital solutions for our customers to increase customer experience, improve NPS score. And one of the things that we're doing is that we launched our first Agile Lab in 2020, and the first product launch is scheduled for later in the year. We do believe that when our clients, we have already gotten feedback from our clients in beta testing. We do believe that when that is launched, that our clients will certainly be proud. The M&A team led by Devon, every single day they're looking at transactions. I know today is a transaction that they're looking at for regional expansion. So we're ensuring that we're focused on the right things on a day-to-day basis. A number of projects that we're executing on in the organization. We did indicate last year that we launched a core banking system, OPIX, upgrading OPIX. Our online financial services and CRM is where we plan to get some runs as it relates to improving the client experience, and also ensuring that we continue to refine our policies and procedures. So many years ago, when the Jamaica Stock Exchange launched JTrader, a small fraction of our transactions were being done online. Currently, close to 80% of transactions for the Jamaica Stock Exchange are done without any touch from a staff member from VMWealth by leveraging technology, which is the JTrader platform from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So for the first quarter release, we did provide some commentary on COVID, what we're doing for our team members, what we're doing for our clients. For our clients, it's lots of information. The investment world is very challenged. We don't know when the level of growth will go back to 2019 levels. We're seeing disruption in the bond market, the equity market, the real estate market, all markets. How can we play a part is providing information. We have done a number of webinars. I think we have done about 6 or 7 COVID special releases. Nicole Adamson, who's a research manager, had an article published. So we'll continue under thrust to inform our clients regarding how do they navigate this space, very challenging space. For our team members, I must say our business continuity plan was certainly put to the test. However, I do believe that we did pass a test. During COVID, approximately 80% of our team members worked remotely. I think myself and Colanda were the only 2 who came to work. But everybody worked remotely, and I don't think we missed a customer transaction. So that shows you that our BCP plan, a lot of the investments that we have made in this enterprise, that those investments are bearing fruit. Last but not least, stock price performance. So when it's all said and done, is how does all of this impact our stock price? Last year, I do believe that we had a very good year in terms of dividend yield, dividend paid, capital appreciation. 2020, a very challenging year, but we played a long game. And we do know that successful investors, that they play the long game. And there are going to be challenges along the way, but we play the long game. And with that, I thank you very much, shareholders. Thanks for the confidence in the team at VMWealth and VMIL. And I'll hand back to the chairman.
Well done. Thank you, Rez. Very, very comprehensive report. Nobody can accuse us of being opaque, right? Not being transparent. But I think one thing you must agree with me is that for somebody to have such a command of numbers and the organization, it's great. It stands us in good stead. I think we have a great CEO here, and he's delivering. So I want you to give him another round of applause for me, for him and his team. So at this time, I would invite questions from the floor and online related specifically to the auditor's report, the chairman's message, and the CEO's report. Please make your way to the microphones as we see Mr. Young doing. But observe the stickers on the floor for social distancing. This is related specifically to the report and the auditor's report.
Financials?
Yes, the financial report.
I don't hear, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, the financial report.
Mr. Chairman, I have to big you up, because...
Yeah, that too. You can do that too. Even though that's not in the agenda, but yes, yes.
The stocks was, when it just come out, it about $1, something like that?
$2.40.
$2, yeah. And we up nearly to 13 or something like that dollars. A great company, a great man, well, for just come on the stock.
We're working on it. We thank you for the shareholder support. We're working.
Yeah, man, good man. You can turn to page.
Right. All right. Before you ask your question, you have to state your name.
Oh, sorry.
So we have to record it.
Yeah, Livingston Young.
Right, Mr. Young.
You can turn to page 148. Note 29. Note D, risk, credit risk. 140? Yeah, 148.
148.
No, sorry, 46. 146, sorry. 146.
Credit risk, no B. Number 28.
Yeah, 28, yeah. You ready there, Mr. Chairman?
I'm here.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Balance, the balance at January 1st, 2019. You have stage 1, 12 months, stage 2, line. With, you can ask this question. ECL, what that stand for, Mr. Chairman?
Expected credit loss.
All right. Mr. 5,877,000 in 2019. The total, I look at the total there is 5,877,000. Explain to us, shareholder, financial costs and financial asset in
Right.
January 1, 2019.
Yes. So you want to know
Explanation.
what
Because
they
of
are?
that, in line life, it's ECL. The dash between, the little expression on it.
Okay. So your expected credit losses is a projection for the amount that you have at risk that you may lose, right? And so those line items below are really categories of assets and what the expected credit loss is over a 12-month period and then over the lifetime. So the chances of losing is what you are looking at in that ECL. I don't know if Rez, that's Janice, that's close enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, jump down to the balance. It's a balance at December 31,
Yes.
2019
Right.
of 21,627.
Yes.
And over the total cost on the bottom, 24,370 something.
Correct.
I just give a lowdown on it, please.
So in the first 12 months, obviously the balances are very high because you have assets coming in and going out over that period. Over the lifetime, it's much lower.
Yeah,
And the
that's
total,
right.
both the lifetime, which is stage 2, lifetime, stage 1, 12 months, which is stage 1, the
Right,
total
right,
them in the
that's it,
final
Mr.
column.
Chairman, yeah.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Yes? Thank you. Janice, you can't leave me up there too. Blowing the wind, you know. But I did okay. All right, good.
Yes, good afternoon,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. My name is Michael Hendricks. I just have about 2 questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Michael Hendricks.
Michael Hendricks. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, I just want to find out, your legal and other professional fee, why it increased so
You're
significantly?
legal and other professional?
Yeah.
I'm not hearing you so well. You have to talk into the mic.
On page 134. Yeah. So I saw where it came from, 28 million to 60 million.
I'm not finding it. Go ahead. You have the mic? I'm not seeing it, but go ahead. You want a microphone? Oh, you have yours, right.
134.
Yeah, sure. So what you're showing is note 26, legal and professional services moving from 28,836 to 6926.
Yeah.
The increase is due to capital market transactions.
Oh.
Capital market transactions.
Okay.
So when we do capital market transactions, oftentimes a lawyer is engaged. So these are the legal fees for engaging an attorney. And remember before I'd shown you the breakout of the revenue lines, capital market vis-a-vis asset management vis-a-vis bond trading. So because of the increase in that activity, increased
That
legal
number
costs.
goes up as well.
Okay, understood. Another question. I noticed that, I can't find the page, but I noticed that you have some problem in your, just a second.
You remember what it pertains to?
Just a second. I just want to be precise. You know? I look back for the page. But
Okay, you can't leave that word problem out there though. You have to kind of come and clarify what you mean. You know, you just say problem.
Or it's staple.
Good afternoon, sir, and
Good
welcome.
afternoon. Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
before I ask my question, with your permission, I have few observations that I would like to share with each and every one of us, with your permissions.
Okay, Mr. Staples. So as you know, we're online as well, so we have a limited time frame. So I will permit you, but if I have to cut you off, I will also. So give us 2.
Let us all give God thanks for taking us to our AGM today, for his safe guidance and protection over the last year from the last AGM, and for taking us through the challenging times we are facing today. May our Creator God continue to bless us all, and may we as a people continue to praise his holy name and love one another. We all ask God's blessing on our management and employees as they all continue the hard work so that our group will continue to be successful in their operations. This we ask in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Mr. Chair, congratulations to you, members of the board, and the very hard-working employees, on the very good financial results and the exceptional customer service. God's blessing to you as you continue to shine.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair, the management discussion and analysis was a very, very informative one. And I would like to congratulate the team that was responsible for putting this together. My questions, Mr. Chair. First one. How do you plan to reduce the uncertainty of currency interest rate?
The uncertainty of currency.
Interest rate.
Well, I'm not clear what you mean there, but the uncertainty of currency or the uncertainty of interest rates?
Uncertainty of currency interest rates.
U.S. interest rates?
All right, so what I would say there, Mr. Staple, is that, our business, we're in the business of planning for uncertainty. That's our business. Risk management is a central part of our function. If we do it better than most people, clients come to us as a result of that. So uncertainty is a fact of life in both currency and in interest rates. It's our job to plan for those uncertainties, not to eliminate them, but to ensure that we understand what's happening and how our clients are able to work to build their wealth within that context. And that's what we do. So we don't have a plan to eliminate them.
Mr. Chair, through you to the auditor. Mr. Auditor, valuation of investments are based on observable inputs. What are these, and why is there the involvement of so much judgment and a use of assumptions?
Oh, Mike, portable.
Thank you, sir. So if probably the simplest way to explain this, if you had a share in a listed company like VMIL, at the date that you go to check the price, you look on the stock exchange website and there's a price for it, right? Because it is a specific instrument, it's marketable, everybody knows what the reference price is. If you hold instruments that don't have that same listed price, what you then have to do is make some assumptions around what information do I have about similar instruments. So if you hold a bond, for instance, and it's not a listed bond, you may, in Jamaica, there's a mechanism where people give indicative prices based on the tenure of the instruments, based on the interest rates of the instruments, and you can use that as an approximation to determine fair value. But you can't go to it as a published price and say this is the price for the instrument. So there's some degree of judgment involved, for instance, in what's the risk rating of the instrument that I'm trying to value, or what kind of comparable instruments are there in the market that I can use as a proxy. Does that help?
Yes, Mr. Auditor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Staple. I have several from our online participants, so we're going to have to alternate.
Okay.
But go ahead. Last one.
Staff costs was up from 349.1 million to 518 million. And that was by 168.9 or 48.3%. All directors was 6.7 million, with additional retainer for board chairman of 1.7 million. These significant increases in salaries and retainer charges are unacceptable and demonstrate the unfairness by management and the directors in the use and abuse of the group's funds. Your comments.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Rez to take the ones related to staff costs specifically, but I can tell you, the directors have not had a raise since 2015. So I think that's incorrect. What you might be looking at there is, in fact, the number of meetings that we've had to have for extended due diligence, et cetera, because directors do get compensated for the number of meetings. But the directors have not had a raise since 2015, so that's not quite correct. But
Why the retainer's fee for the chairman?
All in keeping with international best practice, directors are paid a retainer, and they're also paid a per meeting fee. The reason for the retainer is obviously because all of the work that you do does not pertain to a meeting. You are constantly online, you're constantly on the telephone, you're working in person. So the retainer is for directors to be able to give of their services quite freely, because you're not on a clock per se. It's not a 9 to 5, as you can understand. So if you check with most corporates, certainly locally and internationally, you'll find that that is the structure that has been adopted, and that's what we have done as well. Staff costs?
Check. Can you hear me? Okay, so, Mr. Staple,
Yes.
what's a core competence of VMIL? What is that? What's that resource that we need to grow the business? Is it a piece of machinery? Is it an Amazon platform? Is it an intellectual property like KFC? What is it? It's people. It's people. And if we don't find ways, which is why I made a big deal, and it's usually not elaborated on like that in an AGM about HR engagement. If we don't find ways of attracting, developing, and retaining our people, we don't have an enterprise. We do not have a business. This business is nothing but people. And that's part A, right? And then we are competing, so I know the numbers, in a space that is very competitive. When I compare X compensation to Y compensation to Z compensation, very competitive, right? So we have to find ways of keeping our talent. That's part A. And part B is, I'm a bit surprised that you'd make that comment in 2019, because we delivered. So we're investing to grow the business. So you will see cost, but you're gonna see revenues. So let me reference you. Page 135, gain from investment activities moved from 213 million to 485. Net fees on commission moved from 838 to 933. Overall revenues moved from 1.306 billion to 1.682 billion. But difference so that's $300 million. Difference in staff cost was less than $100 million. I don't know if I answered the question, Chairman, but I will have to put that in
Never answered my question.
In perspective.
Thank you very much.
I hear what you're saying, Mr. Chair.
You recall my statement about the technology being the lever and the people being the force? That's what we are.
Okay, last question. Your total revenue in 2018, total, and I mean all your revenue, was $1.8 billion. And your total expenses, everything, was $1.4 billion. And that gave you a net profit of $398 million in 2018. For every dollar of revenue earned, you spent 77 cents, and you made a profit of 23 cents. That was in 2018. In 2019, you had total revenue of $2.3 billion, and you had an expense of $1.7 billion, which gave you a net profit of $598 million. For every dollar of total revenue in 19, your expense was 74 cents, and your profit was 26 cents. Rising. Good. What is interesting, Mr. Chair? The incremental earnings, that means in 2019, when you reach 2018 figure, all that excess revenue that you earned was $566 million. And the expense for that $566 million was $366 million, which gave you incrementally $200,451,000 profit. For every dollar of those incremental earnings, you spent 65 cents, and you made a profit of 35 cents. Very good. And I would like for us to congratulate you, to give you a round of applause for the excellent work that you have been doing. Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
With God's help, I would like us to continue this trend.
I was waiting for the question. I was waiting for the question. I was tensing up for the question. But
and
anyway.
I'm sure for 2020 meeting that we are going to have in 2021,
well,
you will not be telling us that COVID-19 led to a decline in what is happening. I want you to continue this very good work you're doing, so that in 2021, COVID or no COVID, we will be showing excess profit. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir, I think. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge. As I said, we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it. Sir, give me a moment, because I do have some questions that I have to take from the online participants. What have I done with them, Clover? Okay, first one is from Mr. Justin Scott. How long until Caroline can be integrated? I'm not sure what he means by integrated, I suppose.
The intent is not to integrate VMIL with Caroline. We do two separate offerings, but for it to stand on its own, and for Mark to be his entrepreneurial self. Mark is the CEO, and do what he needs to do, obviously with the directors from VMIL providing oversight. But it's not meant to, there's not going to be an integration.
Yeah, we're not absorbing the company.
Yeah, and certainly there's no plans at this point in time.
Certainly we will share technology, share market intelligence, etc. And so in that way, I suppose that there's an integration there. Board skills as well, but the idea is to keep the brand and pursue it that way, right, Riz?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next one up. Sorry, sir, just give me, let me do one more and then I can. This is Mr. David Rose. How does the group plan to become more attractive among the competitive, capital markets industry, or equity capital, I suppose it's private equity, where one competitor is offering zero listing fees. So it's actually fundraising on the equity markets, where one competitor is offering zero listing fees and taking large equity stakes in those companies.
Sure. So, David, you have to dissect and understand what it means by zero listing fees vis-a-vis corporate advisor fees. So there's a lot of marketing in that spin. What I would do is, what I will say though is, and I gave the example that last year when a number of players were stepping back from transactions, we step forward and we execute. And in many of those instances, we didn't have to offer zero listing fees. Secondly, the capital market space is a big, wide open space that can accommodate a lot of players. We are getting our fair share of transactions, much as how the other player, certainly they're executing. So we believe that we are competitive. However, we continue to build out every single business that we're in. So I spoke about some technology offerings coming in the cap market space. And there is certainly more to come, which I didn't want to get into weeds for, certainly for this meeting. Right. But we have every single business line we're enhancing and building out to bring additional revenue and strength for the future.
Okay, David, we note that you have a number of other questions. We're going to return to your questions at another point. I just want to take Mr.
Hendricks.
Yes, sir. You're
Yeah,
from the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I saw you, page 129. I saw you where you issued 2 bonds.
129.
Yes, in 2019. And these bonds are for 500 million each.
And you're saying what? So you're...
I saw where you issued 2 bonds in 2019 for 500 million.
Yes.
I just want to ascertain if it was well received and why one of them were for 5% and the other one was for 5.5%.
The 5.5 came before the 5, right, Colando?
I think the 5 was before.
The 5 and the 5.5, but one is secured, one is not. Correct. So the collateral structure was different to move from 5 to 5.5, and they're well received. So for example, we continue to operate in that space based on the goodwill of the brand.
Okay. Another thing, in page 82, I saw we're having some problem with the loan receiver.
82.
Yeah.
Loan what?
Receivable.
No, so... Where's Vanille? Where is Philip? It's loans. So it's not as if it's outstanding to be paid and they don't want to be paid, it's loans. So there is no impairment in any way, shape, or form.
So that's
So
just
you have a problem.
No problem.
No man. So that definition, it can be a little tricky, but loan receivables just means that it's money being owed.
Yeah, no.
Which is a good thing because that's what we do for a living. So that's the amount that's
But
being
you are
paid back.
collecting though.
Yes. It would not show up there if it were. So it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's not bad debt. It's not bad debt.
It's not bad debt.
And actually, we're at an audit committee meeting this week, and somebody did ask a question, perhaps subject to Nigel accepting. Next year, we'll just have loans. There's no ambiguity around impairment, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But very good question. Very good question. It's as if you're in that audit committee meeting, perhaps.
1 minute, ma'am. Certainly, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Anatole Clark Allwood, shareholder. Let me also express my appreciation for this leadership and team members, and in particular for Mr. Campbell, who I know is a proficient, efficient, professional, honest, upright human being. All right, having said that, let me rise in defense of the auditor and his report. When he spoke, he did correct himself, because when I look back to 78, when he got there, it said 80 to 81. So in defense of him, he did in speaking.
We thank you, ma'am, but Mr. Chambers don't need any defense, you know. And you're messing up my discount. So please.
Well, truth must prevail. Truth pressed to the ground will rise again, the eternal, you know.
What page?
All right.
What page?
Some of my questions have already been answered. However, I'd like to follow up with the question, sir, that Mr. Staples asked in terms of whether or not there is a trend, given the example you gave about, isn't there a trend that shows itself so that you can be more definitive rather than making so many assumptions?
Oh. This is Mr. Okay.
So it's a very good question. So unless there's a quoted price for an instrument, you're going to have to make some adjustments. When, if you value your car or value a house, you have to look at similar instruments, but they're not the identical instrument. And that is why there has to be judgment involved. So it is inherent with, financial services businesses that are holding assets that aren't quoted in a market, that you are going to have to make some assumptions around what is reasonable. In our context, there is enough information around the similarity of instruments and the risks, etc., that you can find reasonable estimates. But they are just that. They're reasonable estimates. They're not identical prices for the same instrument.
All right, let me just go back online before you.
Sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have a little concern because remember now, the voting for the resolutions, which is one of the main reasons why we're here, it is going to be different this year because of our online participation. It means that we have to allow for enough time for online participation in the voting. And so the time to vote is going to be a little protracted than normal. So we want to leave enough time for that. So I'm going to take 2 more questions, and then we can always return to the questions after the resolutions, after we've finished the business. So let me just take this one online, and then I'll come back to you. Hannah-Reen Bowen, thank you for your question. I want to know the time frame on the expected release date of the online platform.
2020.
Res?
2020.
2020. It's hard to miss. Broad enough target. 2020, Hannah-Reen. You want to Q4, Q3?
2020, Chairman.
2020. Okay, thank you. Coming back to you.
Mr. Chair, through you, maybe again it's the auditor who ought to respond or your legal team. My question is, what's the page 77 is what I'm looking at here, the last paragraph on the left column, and the third from bottom paragraph on page 80. The one on 77 says, we therefore determined that the impairment of financial assets has a high degree of estimation uncertainty. And let me read the other part because it's the same question, the legal implication for making those statements. However, future events or conditions may cause the company to cease to continue as a going concern. Over to you.
All right. So I'll take them separately. The first point is on the key audit matter on expected credit losses. So one of the significant changes we've seen in the last couple of years is where from day one you enter a contract for a financial asset, you have to make an assumption of what you expect to lose, right, in terms of credit loss. You have to make, so if you issue a loan, there is a pattern of some loans defaulting, and on day one, you have to make an estimate of what that loss rate is going to be and how much you're going to lose. All right? So it's a provision, right? Except that you don't wait until the thing defaults before you make the provision. You look at your historical record, for instance, to say, I usually lose 1% on my loan portfolio, as an example, and on day one, you have to make that 1% provision. Does that help? So the process, okay, all right, so the process involves looking at historical information to the extent that that helps, as well as looking at, does that historical pattern, let's say if it was 1%, does that historical pattern continue to hold going forward? Because remember, we're estimating expected credit losses. And so there is a degree of judgment involved. So for instance, if the economy is doing well, do we expect the loss rate to go up or to go down? If employment is doing well, do we expect the loss rate to go up or down? So those are the kinds of assumptions that get involved in making the estimate of expected credit losses.
Do you mind?
Sure.
Do you take into consideration the management team history too?
Absolutely. So you consider how have we been doing when we make our investments in financial assets? How much have we been losing at the end of the day? And you make assumptions around, are we going to do better or worse? And use that to quantify what the expected credit losses are.
Okay? Thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
And
We're going to have to...
Just quickly, may I just
We're going to have to
quickly-
go on. We have to go on. We're half an hour over time. We're going to return to the questions, right? These have specifically to do with the report, so we're going to return to these questions if I can ask for your indulgence in that regard. Thank you very much, and I shall come back to you and the other participants online who have other questions. Thank you, Nigel. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to move into the formal section of the event and take a number of the items that are here for your approval. So I start with item number 1. This is the election of directors. Sorry. Okay, so may I have a motion for the approval of the auditor's report, the financial statements for the year ended 31 December 2019, and the director's report? You got that? Mr. Hendricks. Mr. Hendricks moved. Second?
Mr. Staple.
Mr. Staple seconds. So for those participating via live stream, the online voting instructions should appear on screens for voting. We will allow 5 minutes for voting to be completed and then announce the results for those online. But for those internally, we'll do so now. So all in favor? Aye. All against? Okay, in person, the ayes have it. And we'll await the votes of the online members. 5 minutes.
Should he ask whether there was anybody who voted against?
We asked for against, and we didn't have any against.
That's the point. Just so that we...
Yes, we asked for it. 0 nays. Sorry if you didn't. Yeah. Somebody time in. Global time. You're going to bring the results? I see it. Yeah, I see it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation in our first item. Voting has ended, and we await the results. They're on screen. We have 32 in favor, 0 votes against. The motion carries. Thank you very much. The next resolution for consideration is the election of directors. I'm sorry. I messed up. Oh, sorry, forgive me. The next item for consideration is the approval of the dividend payment for 2019. The interim dividend of $0.03 per stock unit paid on June 12, 2019, and that the interim dividend of $0.16 or 16 cents per stock unit paid on December 11, 2019, and that the interim dividend of $0.03 or 3 cents per stock unit paid on March 27, 2020 be and is hereby ratified and declared as the final dividends for the financial year ended December 31st, 2019. May I have a motion for the approval of the dividend payment as presented? Ms. Clark Allwood. Seconded? Your name, ma'am? Beverly Gustav. Gustav. Thank you very much. Again, for those participating via live stream, the online voting instructions should appear on screens. For voting, we're allowing 4 minutes this time. I haven't taken the vote yet. I'm getting there. I'm just giving instructions for the online. So we're still allowing 5 minutes. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. We're allowing 4 minutes for the vote online. And as you get more efficient, we'll move it down to 3. So, for those in the room, all in favor? Aye. All against? Me against. You're against, sir. Okay, the ayes have it? Well, not at the moment. No, sir. We're voting. So you have to wait for the question and answer period. But you voted against. Okay. So the ayes have it. In person, we'll await the online voting. Thank you. So, thank you. For item number 2, we have the votes tallied, and there were 33 votes in favor and 1 against. So the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 3 is that the following directors retire pursuant to Article 108 of the Articles of Incorporation, who being eligible offer themselves for re-election. These directors are Mr. Devon Barrett, Mrs. Sandra Shirley Oxley, and Mr. Noel Hahn. I therefore propose a resolution for the re-election. No, Vikram is the next one. I propose a resolution for the re-election of directors en bloc and ask a shareholder to approve the motion.
May I comment here, Mr. Chairman?
Are you proposing?
I am, yes.
Okay.
But at the same time, I'd wonder if the fact that a director who is proposed for election at this time, who was appointed to the board by, by board appointment, is really being re-elected. Is there legal change in that?
Well, that's not correct, because all of these directors here would have been appointed by at the last cycle of the annual general meeting. So all of these directors have been appointed by the annual general meeting.
You mean at the last annual meeting they were...
Not necessarily the last one, because there's a cycle. Let me ask our head of...
They were elected or re-elected? Yes.
Through you, Chair, they were previously re-elected at an AGM. The rotation requirement is 1/3 of the board retires annually, and this is the 1/3 that is due for rotation now.
You require the
I was thinking of Mr. Diamond.
We haven't gotten to that resolution
That's a
yet.
different resolution.
Right.
Which would be Director Barrett, Director Shirley Oxley, and Director Noel Hahn. We haven't reached.
So these are existing directors who were
That's fine,
elected.
that's fine, huh?
Yes.
All right, we'll ask your clarification
Sure.
when we get to Mr. Diamond.
Sure.
I so move that the directors
resolution
be
be proposed.
re-elected en bloc. It's Arthur Ellison. sorry.
Who is seconding? Courtney Campbell seconds. So 4 minutes for online and in person. All in favor? All against? So in person the ayes have it, and we'll await the 4-minute time clock. Okay, for item 3, we have the tally. And there are 32 in favor, 0 against. So the ayes have it. Thank you very much. For item number 4, and let me read it. I think we have a query. So let me read it, and then we can address that query. Item number 4 is, no, am I gone wrong again? Hold on, how am I getting this? Oh, I'm sorry, sorry. Yeah, item 4. The following director was appointed as an addition to the board since the date of the last annual general meeting. The appointment was effective from October 4, 2019. That director will retire pursuant to Article 106 as at the date of this meeting, but shall be eligible for re-election. That director, Mr. Vikram Demon, retiring pursuant to Article 106 of the Articles of Incorporation, who being eligible for re-election, is hereby re-elected. This is the proposal. May I ask a shareholder to, just a minute. May I ask a shareholder to approve the resolution presented? Now, there was a question from shareholder Alvarez. Yes, Ellison, I'm sorry. And your question was, would you like to state the question again so we can answer it?
You asked for a motion for this person's re-election.
Yes.
I so move. The point is, your secretary has pointed out that operating by the Articles of Association,
yes,
that's what we have to do, re-elect the person. Yes. I mean, you could change what the articles say at this time.
Right.
And
okay, so your understanding is as always that
fully.
Article 106 allows for the board to appoint and then...
Oh, the appointment is not a problem. It's
right.
merely the case that if the person were appointed
yes.
and then re-elected,
the
question does arise somewhat.
But
it's clarified by the articles.
Okay, it's clarified. Okay, thank you very much.
Move.
Thank you, sir. We had a... So the director is online at the moment. He's also, his information is in our report, but as you know, we have restrictions and people have to take personal risk in terms of our social distancing and COVID, so he's not at the meeting at this time. Online. He's online, but he's not in person in the room. Okay, so could I have somebody to second that motion? Thank you, sir. And again, we're using 4 minutes for the online voting, but in person, all in favor? Aye. All against? The ayes have it. Well, 4 minutes is what we allow for online. I'm against it. So the one against. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you for that correction, sir. So 4 minutes? Yeah. So for item 3B, the votes have been tallied. This is retirement pursuant to Article 106. In favor, we have 30 votes and 1 against, so the ayes have it. Thank you very much. For item number 4, this relates to directors' remuneration. The amount of $7,681,235 included in the audited accounts of the company for the year ended 31 December 2019 as remuneration for their services as directors be and is hereby approved. May I ask a shareholder to approve the resolution presented and another shareholder to second the motion? Yes? You're moving? Mr. Young. Second is? Ms. Gustav, yes. Okay, thank you very much. And 4 minutes for online voting. We're going to take the vote in person now. All in favor? Aye. All against? Any against? Sorry, got you that time. Against? One more against. So we have 1 against in room, and we're waiting for our online participation. So for item number 4, we have tallied votes, and the votes are 31 in favor, 1 against. So the ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 5, which is number 8 on the agenda, is a resolution for the appointment of auditors. KPMG, chartered accountants having signified their willingness to continue in office as auditors, are hereby reappointed auditors of the company to hold office until the next annual general meeting at a remuneration to be agreed with the directors. May I have a motion for the approval of the appointment of KPMG as chartered accountants at a remuneration to be agreed with the directors? Thank you. May I have a second? Mr. Stapler, you're seconding? Okay. You're seconding. Okay. Ms. Clark? Ms. Allwood Clark is seconding. For those participating via private live stream, the time is 4 minutes for the voting, and for in-person, all in favor? Aye. Any against? So the ayes have it in person. And we await the participation for our online shareholder. Directors, Nigel. For resolution number 5, we have all votes in, 32 in favor, 0 against. So the ayes carry the day. Thank you very much. And for the last, but by no means least, resolution for the day, this is special resolution number 6. And this is a little involved. And so I ask your indulgence to read through the entire resolution. With the advent of COVID-19, many companies found it impossible to hold AGMs because of the government's imposed restrictions, which limited the number of persons who could gather for meetings. In addition to the government imposed restrictions on some companies, including VM Investments, sorry, should be a full stop, imposed restrictions, full stop. Some companies, including VM Investments, encountered issues with holding their AGM because their articles of incorporation required AGMs to be held in person. In collaboration with the Jamaica Stock Exchange and other listed companies, VM Investments applied to the court for permission to hold its AGM in person and by way of the use of technology for remote access. This application was successful. However, the permission under the court order is limited to 2020, and as such, the following special resolution is being proposed to amend the articles for AGMs so that going forward there will be adequate provision to permit AGMs in the event of unforeseen events such as COVID-19. With that being said, we now move to the proposed amendments to the articles of the company. The articles of incorporation of the company be and are hereby amended by inserting new articles numbered 6A, 56A, 56B, and 59A, replacing articles 75 in its entirety and amending articles 147 and 149 to provide as follows. 6A. In these articles of incorporation, electronic means via electronic and or telephonic facilities or platforms, and live streams or broadcast means transmission and reception of live video and audio coverage. Where in these articles it is provided that members may attend a meeting of the company by electronic means or by way of live stream or broadcast, the relevant computer program or software, including webcasting, video conferencing, teleconferencing, a combination of those and or other electronic platforms, must allow members access to see and hear the proceedings, ask questions, vote electronically, including before and during the meeting and by proxy, and in all respects fully participate and exercise such rights subject to the chairman's directions for the orderly conduct of the meeting. 56A, the company may hold its annual general meeting or any extraordinary general meeting in any of the following manners. A, members present at the same physical venue, or B, members present at a physical venue together with members in attendance by electronic means or with a live stream or broadcast of the meeting, or C, members in attendance entirely by electronic means or with a live stream or broadcasting of the meeting. 56B, any failure of technology or any failure or inability of a member to remain in any meeting convened in accordance with Article 56A shall not invalidate any resolutions passed or proceedings taken at such meeting, provided that a quorum is present at all times. 59A, notice of the meeting as well as copies of the documents referred to in Article 143 may be present by electronic mail, prepaid mail, posting links to access the documents via the company's website and or such other websites available to public companies from time to time for the dissemination of information. 75, all votes may be given either personally or by proxy or by the established electronic means as communicated through the relevant notices to include email instructions and any other electronic means of instructions for any such meeting, but no member shall be entitled to appoint more than one proxy to attend on the same occasion. 145, a notice may be served by the company upon any member, either personally or by electronic mail, at the email address supplied by him for the purpose of sending notices or by sending it through the post addressed to such member at his or her registered address supplied by him or her to the company for the giving of notice to him or her by advertisement in a daily newspaper circulating in Jamaica or by publishing such notice on the company's website and or such other websites available to public companies from time to time for the dissemination of information. 149. Any notice, 149, yes. Any notice if sent by email shall be deemed to be received 24 hours after it has been sent by the company. Any notice if sent by post shall be deemed to have been served at the expiration of 48 hours after same shall have been posted. And in proving such service, it shall be sufficient to prove that the envelope containing the notice was properly addressed and stamped and put into the post office or into any post box subject to the control of the Postmaster General. Notice published in a daily newspaper shall be deemed to be served on the date of the publication. In the case of publication on the company's website or such other websites available to public companies from time to time for the dissemination of information, notice shall be deemed to be served on the date on which the notice is published on such website. I therefore propose a special resolution for the amendments to the Articles of Incorporation as read and ask a shareholder to approve the motion. May I ask for that proposal? Livingston. Yes? Can you? The question is, do you need a...
That's all clerk, all with shareholder. I'm asking if this note by post that's related to a 40-hour period time is the post office, the public post office? Is that what we are talking about here?
I'm going to ask our head of legal to address that.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's a public post office, but it's 48 hours after delivering it to the post office.
No, but that's a problem in Jamaica. I'm sorry, this culturally does not work for our post offices.
I understand that it may be a problem, but we also publish it in the newspapers. There are multiple ways of communicating, and so it will be published in the newspaper, like today's one was published. It will be available on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, VMIL website. So we have to try to accommodate our shareholders in whatever forum we can reach them. So it's a provision for multiple methods of communicating all at the same time.
With due respect through you, Mr. Chair, I understand that, but that does not give credence to the fact that in this method, it's just thrown in because you have a mixed 48 hours is not credible in this society. Sorry, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we take note of that. Thank you. Mr. Young, you had moved. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Any against? All of the people who are against it, please put up your hand. Right? Okay. One against. One against. Sorry, I didn't see the second. Let me ask it again. Any against? 1, 2. 2 against. Okay, thank you. For online voting, the time is 4 minutes. And we look forward to getting your results. Okay, so we have in favor 29 votes and 4 votes against, and I suspect it surrounds the issue of this 48 hours. But as we were just discussing, let me just remind you that, remember that we give 21 days notice, right? So it's 21 days, right, that we are required to provide in terms of notice for the meeting. The fact that we deem it being delivered 48 hours after it goes to the post office is not really the issue. It is the 21 days. So you, believe me, you're safe in terms of your notification via post or otherwise. So thank you for that. The motion carries. So at this time, I want to thank everybody for their participation in our resolutions. And I now open the floor for any other business related to anything about the company at all. I had promised Ms. Clark. Yes. So I have her first because I have to come back to her since I had promised her.
Thank you, sir. But may I just take the opportunity to say that though 21 days is the seminal matter, the fact is these articles are legal, and so I can be held to that if I have no other recourse to anything else. Just saying. Okay. Having said that, I move to this main matter here that I have. Is there active consideration being given to the use of cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency?
Yes.
We consider all asset classes.
Interesting. Because it then means you are moving to a cashless society, is that it?
Well, we consider all asset classes. Whether we move to adopt them or trade them, etc., is another issue. But we obviously are vigilant about all asset classes, emerging and otherwise.
Thank you. And while I appreciate your wide horizon, I would, well, maybe I'll be dead by then, but I would exercise caution, because the fact of the matter is you do have a part of the demographics that is of another generation and may have difficulty in adhering to those. So I hope that when all those evolving or things that come up, that kind of thing will be taken into consideration. Will it?
I can't predict the future, but we've always done well by our shareholders and our customers in that regard, and so the future should be no different.
Having said that, appreciation is expressed for the thoughtful gifts that you presented us with, and also the availability of the minutes. I didn't have to ask for it. It was there, ready, and I appreciate that.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Question. When will the gender balance on the board be improved? When will that be addressed?
When will that be improved?
Or addressed, whichever.
Well, we address it constantly. It is one of the factors that we utilize in our deliberations about new directors. Our overwhelming consideration is for particular directors with particular skills at the time that we need them. So it's not just about directors. Of course, they are eminently qualified potential directors of both genders. And so I expect that number or that balance will vary from time to time.
Which I've often said, you have said it for me. But you know, sir, when I was doing physics, I learned that work is done when an object moves through a distance. So until I literally see the evidence, I don't think any work is done, with respect. Now, may I suggest, and this is the last thing, that a table be provided in the report for abbreviations like GDP.
Glossary.
Yes. And because that will obviate some of the questions that are asked about what does this mean.
Sure.
Thank you.
It will be very difficult to explain all the terms in KPMG's report because, that's something that takes us 20 years to kind of.
All I'm suggesting is that, like GDP, gross domestic product. That's all. You don't need to really go into the details of the meaning. That's all I'm suggesting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Right. So we're 18. Okay, just a comment on the gender balance. So when we work it out, we are equivalent of 18% female to male, and the world average is 20%. At the director level. At the director level is what we're talking about. No, man. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to your board, the thing there first. Yeah, the dividends and the what you say now, Lord. All right, the dividends. You need an increase of dividends, and I asked if we could get a thing there. Gosh. Anyway, increase on the dividends.
You would like an increase on dividends?
Yeah, the dividends.
So
And the next one too.
So would we all.
Yeah, quarter dividends.
So would we all.
Yeah.
However, we give it due consideration each quarter, based on a number of factors, one of which is the current circumstances and the immediate future circumstances. You can imagine at this time that such a call may not be the best time to make that call about, given where we are and what's happening in the economy and the uncertainty with the future. So I don't know that, obviously we are always looking for an increase in the dividends. Yeah. This may not be the best time.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Man investing in the bank of Alpha-Cheer already. Hear me out, Mr. Chairman. The Jamaican dollars, could continue the downward trend, which we pray for our money go up still. And the US, you can explain to me how you plan to work out that thing, because sometimes we're coming back for buy the US dollars and sometimes go up and sometimes go. Can you have an explanation on that, please?
I could explain to you, but I'm going to have to do that off air, because I don't think that's necessarily something that could be contained within the time frame of this meeting.
Yeah, all right.
But just so that you know,
yeah,
that's the responsibility of the central bank and the Ministry of Finance, although we have a role to play in that market. All right, can I take on?
We have two pages. Page 82 and page 164. You there, Mr. Chairman?
I'll get in there.
The group and the company.
$164. Found it?
Assets. Your asset.
So you could have said second to last page,
Let's start with one first. Page 82. You there? Cash and cash equivalent. Cash and cash equivalent. You there?
Yes.
Investment securities, interest and subsidiaries, interest and the asset. You can explain to it 2019, 2018, and 2019. We start on the first one with the group.
1.9 million.
Yeah, 1.9 million. All right. Now, 2018, I check right on the balance. 13,241,358. You can explain to me a little bit on the group and the company these figures, please.
I don't see that number. I see 1.9 million.
Yeah, that is for the
And you're
group.
saying 2018 is what?
2019 first.
Yes, 1.9 million.
Yeah, right.
And 2018 is 740,000.
Right.
740 million, but yeah.
All right, look on page 146. Yeah,
164.
Yeah, 164. Thank you for correcting me. Note 30, B. The key management, you can give a little explanation. Key division first, then key management. You can give a little explanation, subsidiaries and interest. I see you have 30,382,000. And the asset of the company of 1,480,000. Can you give a little explanation on it? Between 82 and 164.
Okay, so the note is about related party transactions. And we're speaking about the income statement includes the following income earned and expenses incurred in transactions with related parties in the ordinary course of business. That's the preamble. So the ultimate parent society is registering, as you said, $30,382,000.
Yeah.
That's interest and dividend income.
That line item here, I say key management, executive directors, subsidiaries, interest. Them dash, what the dash
So
stand for?
key management,
Yeah, the dash me see in the middle, right? In the dash between each one of
that
them.
means that there's nothing. There's nothing to report there.
Oh, your asset,
Zero.
Oh, your asset a company of 1,480,000. Is that, we just want the explanation of it.
I'm not seeing that asset. You said we,
Associate, thank you.
Associated
Associate, yeah, thank you. Associate of a company, 1,480,000.
$1,480,000.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So an associate company is a company that you have minority shareholding in.
Yeah.
And so that amount relates to an associate, a company that you have minority shareholding in. This is income.
Oh, interest income. Oh, all right. And beneath this, you have directors' fees, which you must have asked a while ago about. Directors' fees of 14,200,000. Yeah. You see it?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going online now to have a number of them. Mr. Scott, Justin Scott, how has VMIL prepared to ensure that there are no further data breaches going forward? Rez?
Sure. 4 points. Pardon? Yeah, so I did elaborate it in the presentation, but let me just kind of simplify it. People, process, technology. On the people side, a lot more training for all members of the team. In terms of processes, revision of all processes. In terms of technology, there is a technology that we have deployed in the business to stop or that will catch those files going out before they go out. Data loss prevention tool. And then thirdly, we're also in the group about to form an IT committee, board subcommittee, to give greater oversight around the IT matters. So 4 points I want to raise in that.
Right. On a related question, which is in fact an answer, part of Rez's answer. David Rose asks, apart from the key ICT changes done after February, has the group done more internal education to make team members more aware of critical security risks and avoid phishing and exposure?
Lots more training.
Yes, absolutely, and that is a key component of our strategy to guard against any dangers and exposures.
Sure.
So thank you for that. Mr. Rose also asked, as his last question, will the company consider raising capital through a capital issuance, pref share or bonds, to seize undervalued asset companies in the region and internationally? I wouldn't use the term seized, David, but certainly it is not beyond us to raise funds. I mean, we do have existing liquidity already, but it's not beyond us to raise funds in the pursuit of assets such as the ones that you've spoken about. Okay? Yes, sir. Mr. Staple.
Mr. Chair, am I correct in saying that Mr. Burtison is part of a leadership team?
Yes, you are.
Why then was he deleted from the pictures on 42, 43, and 44?
I think you'd have to tell Mr. Burchison. He's the one who controls the pictures.
Well, why was he deleted? Or eliminated?
Is what?
No, on page 21, there is a photograph and with the appropriate titles, etc. So
I'm saying, Mr. Chair, as
Yes.
part of a leadership team, he
Yes.
should be there.
This is, direct me to the page, please.
no.
I
We
don't
have
care which
certain
other page
standards-
you're looking at.
We have certain
I'm looking
standards
at
of
page
attractiveness.
42, 43, and 44. He should be on that page.
Okay, so noted.
Okay.
But we do have certain standards of attractiveness, which
I'm
sometimes
saying, Mr.
he
Chair,
runs afoul of. But that's
saying-
that's not for the minutes.
he's part of a leadership
Absolutely,
team. He's
sir.
the leader of the team.
Yes, sir.
So he should be there.
I acknowledge you are right.
So for next 2021, that needs to be there.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, why is it that the tax computation was in 25% and 32 and 3%? Why?
Why was it 25%?
Why was the two rates used, 25 and 32 and 3%?
Because
VMIL is 25.
right. So a regulated entity
35.
has an elevated tax category of 33 and 3%. So Victoria Mutual Wealth Management, which is a subsidiary of Victoria Mutual Investments Limited, is a FSC regulated company and therefore pays 33 1/3%. While VMIL, which is not a regulated entity for the FSC or the BOJ, pays 25%.
But this report is basically for Victoria Mutual Investment Limited, this meeting.
Yes,
Am
for
I
the
correct?
group. So it's a consolidation, but you have to identify the different tax rates.
So you're saying that this investment group, this subsidiary, then,
Yes, the subsidiary of
two
Victoria.
rates have to be used?
No, the subsidiary pays one rate. So if you had multiple subsidiaries, they could pay different rates. In our case, the parent, Victoria Mutual Investments Limited, which is a company in its own right, has a certain tax bracket, and Victoria Mutual Wealth Management, which is a 100% owned subsidiary, has another tax bracket.
So when you look at page 135, and you see tax calculated at the rate of 25% and the rate of 32 1/3%.
34, 35.
Page 135.
Oh, 135.
On a tax calculated at a rate of 25% and also at a rate of 32 1/3%.
Yes. So it lists the amount that relates to the 25 and the amount that relates to the 33 1/3.
So the higher rate is at 32 1/3%.
33 1/3% is higher than 25%. Yeah.
You see the lower rate because that's this VMIL.
So you can actually see, if you look across the line, across the row, you'll see the label group and the label company. So because this is VMIL, it identifies what the company's tax bracket is and the amount. On the company, and then on the group, that's the consolidated basis.
So if you notice, Mr. Staple, the 82 million.
Something doesn't look right to me, Mr. Chair.
No, not at all. Not at all, sir. Not at all. I can assure you, the auditor is sitting right here. So
I don't care whether the auditor is here.
you could take it up with him.
Something does not look right to me here. I don't care whether the auditor is here or not.
No, I'm saying you can direct the question at him.
I am of the opinion that something is not right.
Okay. So noted. Yes. You going to try again?
Yeah, let me try again. So on page 9, Mr. Staple, we show the org structure. All right, so you want to flip there with me, please? So we're going to toggle between page 9 and page 135. So page 9 shows VMIL. Right below it, you have VM Wealth. All right? So there are two separate legal entities. So VMIL earns income. VMIL pays tax on that income. That is represented in the right column on page 135. Right? Where VMIL pays 82,861 in 2019, 54,915 in 2018. That's a company, a discrete company. But because we're a group, we have to add up everybody in the group. So it's called consolidated. So in the left column group, we see the 82 paid by VMIL at 25%, right? And VM Wealth, which is a regulated entity, pays a higher income tax rate, which is 33 1/3. So we say the 247,044 is paid by VMIL in 2019, and the 176,492 is paid by VMIL in 2018. VM Wealth in 2018.
Right.
So we're distinguishing between the regulated and the unregulated, the single company and the console. I hope that helped. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Rez. Yes, sir.
Question, Chairman. Do we intend operating, what is it, Carrie Land, yes, as a brand, or will it be part of the VMIL brand, or whichever brand?
I think Rez spoke to that before, but Rez, you want to?
Sorry,
Go
missed
ahead.
that part.
Courtney.
Will it be operating as a?
Our group CEO and director is going to address that.
Sure.
Yeah, so I think Mr. Burchinson already explained that with respect to VMIL, that it will go forward as an investment, and there was no plan to integrate the operations of Caroland into VMIL. However, from the VM Group perspective, remember that the Victoria Mutual Building Society is involved in the business of consumer loans. And so what we're examining for the future is the opportunity to use this platform as a more efficient delivery mechanism for those loans. So that is something that might happen in the future. That's an opportunity we have. Okay?
I'm looking forward to VMIL earning some of the benefits of efficiency.
Precisely, and VMIL would therefore benefit from that. Okay? Good.
One other comment. On our notice of annual meeting, I'm looking at the fact that, well, I hate to think that it might have arisen from the fact, really, that as the ultimate parent company is so much older than VMIL or VM Wealth for that matter, but this is a VMIL meeting. I was saying that I'd hate to think that we had any kind of inferiority complex to let us shy away from numbering the year of our meeting. I mean, I believe the standard principle on Victoria Mutual meetings is to number the meeting.
But we did say third.
It's a third.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be part of the annual meeting's notice.
Okay, we will do.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'll measure my age by that.
Absolutely. No inferiority complex here, sir.
Beg your pardon?
No inferiority complex here. I'm told that VMIL is the Mercedes-Benz of the group. That's what I'm told.
Here.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if either you're clear about that Carolyn I wouldn't. They say to come Jamaica. They say they are doing the Caribbean in Jamaica. Yes, stock exchange. Do you have a plan that they will listen to the stock exchange and come here?
For them to list on the stock exchange?
Yeah, because I know me clearly say they might come Jamaica, coming in Jamaica.
Yeah, there will be commercial services being offered in Jamaica by Caroland. We don't have, there's no decision where that's concerned yet.
Oh, all right. Let me just see that year.
But thanks for the suggestion. Okay, so that seems to have brought our questions to an end. Let me see if there are any more online. I don't want to. I'm supposed to ensure that our online participants get equity.
Chair, if you'll permit me, there was a question that Mrs. Clark Allwood had raised regarding cryptocurrency and so on.
Yes.
But I just wanted to add that the central bank, our central bank has indicated a willingness to consider the use of what is called central bank digital currency. So they have actually invited providers of central bank digital currency to submit proposals, and then what would happen is that they would be operating within what is called a regulatory fintech sandbox to explore how that could be used to further financial inclusion. So the good news is that our central bank is paying attention to that market opportunity and has taken some concrete steps in that regard.
Correct, and we are, and our point is that we are also being very vigilant, watching the central bank and working with them in the event that becomes a reality. But of course, okay, one of my last duties is to let you know that regarding refreshments, we're going to ask people to remain in a seated position so that we will direct you to the buffet as we get there. I know, I see. I'm just going to finish my point. So that everybody remains and you'll be directed. For those of you who want refreshments, you'll be directed by our attendants for that. Okay, we have another question. Okay. This is from Mr. Stephen Jackson of the media. VMIL at 4 billion equity is losing ground to competitors with some doubling in size in a year with plans for another rights issue. Is VMIL planning a rights issue this year or in 2021? So I'm not sure you can call it losing ground, Mr. Jackson. We capitalize appropriately, and additional capitalization is always on the cards. But I'll let Rez, if you want to address that.
No, I agree with you. We are certainly mindful of the level of capital in the business. Somebody raised the issue earlier about the level of dividends that we pay. So whenever we come to pay dividends, we always have to toggle between the distribution, the regulatory capital, and also the capital to grow the business. I do believe that the 2020 is a different time, but we will indicate at appropriate time when it is that we think we need capital and when we'll be successful in that raise. But our intention is to build the capital base as best as possible, whether it be with rights or whether it be with retained earnings.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have addressed all the items on the agenda, and hopefully we've addressed all your questions. I therefore move for the termination of this annual general meeting of the Victoria Mutual Investments Limited. Meeting is hereby terminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Need a mask? Yes, yes, yes.